about Edwin Diaz getting hurt and injured for the year. And then the last week or so, everybody all of a sudden loves it. It was weird. It's like, what are they doing? Why is this tournament going on? One of the best players in baseball is out for the year. And now it's become like this greatest thing ever. And I'll admit, I'm not a big baseball fan, but I've kind of enjoyed watching these countries go at it a little bit. So we'll keep you updated, but the U.S. has some rallying that they need to do here if they're going to win this thing, again, down 3-1 to Japan. We are absolutely jam-packed tonight. Coming up in about 20 minutes or so, Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports in Gainesville, covering the Florida Gators, as we'll take a look at Billy Napier as week number 2 of spring practice is underway, and will Florida be able to field a basketball team next year? They've now had 4 guys, 4, enter the transfer portal, and the season hasn't even been over a week yet. What is going on with Todd Golden and the basketball team? So Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports in Gainesville, coming up in about 20 minutes. Later on in the 10 o'clock hour, there is a brand new head football coach at Decoy Creek High School in St. Johns County. It's a former Duval County Public School head coach, Zach Harbison, leaving Inglewood and going to Decoy Creek. We'll have Coach Harbison on to talk about that decision, leaving Duval County and Inglewood to go to St. Johns County and Decoy Creek. That conversation is coming up later on in the 10 o'clock hour as well. But obviously a ton on the Jacksonville Jaguars and the rest of the National Football League, and that is where we will begin here on a Tuesday night, because every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do give you a big deal of the night, and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
All right, so it is mock draft time. You know, once you get to Mel Kiper Jr. mock draft 3.0, now we're getting into it, all right? As I told you, when 1.0 comes out, he's throwing darts at a dartboard blindfolded. 2.0, we got a little information, still not a lot. But, brother, now we're at Mel Kiper Jr. mock draft 3.0. And when Mel Kiper Jr. mock draft 3.0 comes out, it's time to dig in. It is time to look at the meat and potatoes of this mock draft and figure out what's going to go on next month in the NFL draft in late April there in Kansas City. So Mel Kiper has, I believe, something that's never happened before. He has 4 quarterbacks being drafted in the top 5. C.J. Stroud of Ohio State, he has going number 1 to Carolina. Bryce Young of Alabama going to Houston, which means he would come to the AFC South. He has Indianapolis trading up with Arizona in order to draft Will Levis of Kentucky. And he has Anthony Richardson going number 5 to the Seattle Seahawks. 4 quarterbacks in Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft that will be drafted in the top 5. If you scroll down to where Jacksonville is at number 24, he has the Jaguars taking Will McDonald, a defensive end from Iowa State. And there is a thought. You got to replace Arden Key. But can you spend back-to-back first-round picks on defensive end edge types? Remember Trayvon Walker last year? Can you go that route again this year? You got to probably draft an offensive tackle now pretty high because you lost Jawan Taylor. Walker Little is no longer your swing tackle. You have to start thinking about replacing Cam Robinson in the near future. So the Jaguars got a lot of areas they need to go, a lot of areas they need to improve on. I could very easily see them draft a corner, offensive tackle, defensive end, edge rusher. I think at some point maybe an interior offensive lineman, maybe a running back. They have 9 picks in next month's NFL draft. 9. 1 first, 1 second, 1 third, 2 fourths. They do not have a 5th round pick currently. Then they actually have 3 6th round picks and then a 7th round selection. So what will the Jaguars do in the draft? Mel Kiper says they're going to go Will McDonald, defensive end, Iowa State. Pete Prisco also came out with a mock draft today. Our friend from CBSSports.com. You hear him every Friday here on 1010XL on the Frangie Show. And Pete's mock draft actually got me very excited. Now again, am I one to toot my own horn? Am I one to pat myself on the back and say, yeah, I told you so? Well, truthfully, yeah, I probably do that. I am that type of guy. Denmark will attest. But I'm also the guy that admits when I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you. And I've been wrong a lot. But Denmark, remember around the Combine when I brought up Nolan Smith. And I said I would love for the Jacksonville Jaguars to end up with Nolan Smith. Well, where are you going to play him? I don't care where you play him. That guy is a ferocious monster. He is a beast. And a guy like Nolan Smith out of Georgia can find his way on my defense any day of the week. So Pete Prisco today, releasing his first mock draft of draft season, has the Jaguars at number 24, taking, you guessed it, Nolan Smith out of Georgia. This is what Prisco says about Nolan Smith. Look, the Jaguars pass rush has to improve. Nolan Smith is the type of player who can make that happen. They could take him and move Trayvon Walker to a down spot. They could also go tight end or cornerback here. If the Jacksonville Jaguars end up with Nolan Smith, I will be on cloud nine. You bring Nolan Smith to this defense with Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, Foley Fatukasi, Devon Hamilton, Roy Robertson Harris, Foye Oluokun. You go on down the line, man. Tyson Campbell, Darius Williams, Andre Sisco, Rayshawn Jenkins, Chad Muma. Good grief. Sign me up for that every day of the week. Would love Nolan Smith. And then, not so much a mock draft, but this kind of ruffled my feathers a little bit. This is a guy that's a friend of the program, a friend of the station. You actually heard us talking with him last Friday. Jordan Dajani, CBSSports.com. Not a mock draft, but an AFC power rankings after the first week of free agency. So he ranked all the teams 1 to 16. 1 obviously being the best, 16 obviously being the worst. Let me throw these at you. 2 things really stick out here. Starting at the very bottom, Jordan Dajani, CBSSports.com, AFC Power Rankings, has the Houston Texans as the worst team in the AFC, number 16. Number 15 on this list, the Indianapolis Colts. 14, he has the Las Vegas Raiders. Tennessee comes in at 13. So here's a National Football League writer for CBSSports.com. He has 3 of the 4 teams in the AFC South. Every team other than Jacksonville in the AFC South among the bottom 4 teams in the AFC. That is the thought coming into the year. The thought is Houston's going to be terrible. The thought is Indianapolis is going to struggle. And the thought is Tennessee is in a rebuild. So Jacksonville, again, when these preseason magazines start coming out in May and June and July, will absolutely be the runaway favorite to win the AFC South in 2023. Let me go up and scroll up a little bit. I'll go from 7 on in, because as we know, the top 7 teams make the playoffs. Jordan Dajani, CBSSports.com, his top 7 teams in the AFC. Number 7, the Los Angeles Chargers. Number 6, the Jacksonville Jaguars. More on that in a moment. I think that's too low. Number 5, Miami. 4, Buffalo. 3, the New York Jets, assuming the Aaron Rodgers deal gets done. And then, of course, you have Cincinnati at 2. You have Kansas City at number 1. There's no way the Jaguars are worse off on paper than 5 other teams in the conference. No way. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. All we can go on is paper right now, obviously, right? With free agency, the draft hasn't even happened. And I like the exercise that Jordan's doing, and we might even get him on in a couple weeks to talk about this. Kansas City's the best team in the AFC. You'll get no argument from me there. They're the defending world champions. They got Patrick Mahomes, and you could argue they've almost gotten better with the additions of Jawan Taylor, Charles Aminu. They had a really good offseason. I won't complain about Cincinnati being number 2. Cincinnati's very, very good. Unbelievable offense. They're a good defense. They got Joe Burrow. Can't argue there. When you start getting to the New York Jets at 3, look, Aaron Rodgers is a great player. Aaron Rodgers will be in Canton, Ohio one day. Aaron Rodgers is going to improve the New York Jets roster. But does Aaron Rodgers' presence make the New York Jets the 3rd best team in the American Football Conference? No, absolutely not. I would still, without thinking twice about it, take Jacksonville over the New York Jets, even with Aaron Rodgers. Number 4, the Buffalo Bills. Bills have had a bad offseason. They got Stephon Diggs is not happy. They lost Tremaine Edmonds. They're losing guys off their defense, losing a couple of guys on offense. Isaiah McKenzie just left, signed with Indianapolis. That Buffalo team, their window of opportunity has been wide open the last 2 or 3 years. But they keep running into Kansas City or running into Cincinnati. That window of opportunity for Buffalo, to me, is on its way down. Are they better than Jacksonville right now? I think there's a real conversation there. I don't know if it's cut and dry that I would take Buffalo over Jacksonville. Just like I don't know if it's cut and dry, I would take Jacksonville over Buffalo. To me, that might be 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. But I think there's a real argument that Jacksonville is better than Buffalo. And Miami at number 5, look, I get it. They've added an incredible amount of talent to the defense with Jalen Ramsey, David Long from Tennessee. Obviously, they got Jalen Waddle. They got Tyreek Hill. They got an immense amount of talent on that roster. But they don't have Trevor Lawrence. They got Tua. When healthy, Tua's fine. But he hasn't been healthy, and there are going to be injury concerns with him. You cannot, to me, have Miami ranked over Jacksonville in an AFC power ranking list for the simple fact that one team has Trevor Lawrence and the other team does not. To me, if I'm doing an AFC power ranking list, Jacksonville is no worse than 4, and they might be 3. In no way, shape, or form are they 6. So I disagree with my friend Jordan Dejani of CBS Sports, but hey, that's what sports radio, that's what sports talk is. It's what makes the world go round, man. Healthy conversation, healthy debate, disagreement. That's why we love doing what we do. The United States just went yard. They have cut Japan's lead 3-2. Denmark, what inning are we in? Are you keeping track of this?
Top of the 8th.
Top of the 8th. All right, so Japan 3, the United States 2, top 8. We will certainly keep you updated. We're going to switch gears and talk a little college football, a little college basketball. We're going to go to Gainesville in less than 10 minutes. Graham Hall, 247sports.com. Florida, in the middle of spring practice. They were on the field earlier today. And the Gator basketball team, their season ended last Wednesday when they were embarrassed, humiliated at home in the NIT to UCF. In the last 6 days, they've had 4 guys enter the transfer portal. 4. What is going on with Gator basketball? So we'll talk Florida Gator athletics. Graham Hall, 247sports.com, coming up in less than 10 minutes. But as always on Tuesday nights, we're here for the graveyard shift, man. We're here for the midnight crowd, the hard-working men and women of Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, keep in mind, the only reason you probably have a job is because of what Arden Key did for this city, right? It's what he said yesterday.
Culture.
Arden Key changed the culture. He changed the city. He changed everything. So you have a job tonight, and you're making a healthy income for your family, and we have Arden Key to thank for that. But we certainly do appreciate you listening on a Tuesday night, late night, to Hacker After Dark. And as a result of that, we are givers on Tuesday night at 10:16 Eastern Standard Time. Dylan Denmark, what do we have for the good folks tonight here on HAD?
I got a pair of tickets to Brass Transit, the musical legacy of Chicago, at Thrasher Horn Center on Thursday, March 23rd. So that is Thursday night.
Yeah, 2 nights from tonight. All right, Denmark, one more time. Thrasher Horn. Who's coming to play?
Brass Transit, the musical legacy of Chicago.
That'll be good. That'll be fun. Music lovers, you'll enjoy that. Here's what we're going to do. Caller number 4 right now at 641-1010. And Dylan Denmark will hook you up with a pair of tickets 2 nights from tonight. The 23rd, make sure you can go 2 nights from tonight. Be caller 4 right now at 641-1010. Graham Hall talking Gator Athletics from 247sports.com. He's next on a Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark.
This is Greg Huntington, one of the original Jaguars, a.k.a. the Mango.
And the Jaguars are going to the playoffs!
On 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Hey Jacksonville, this is Crystal, COO with Remedy Staffing. As employers, labor trends continue to keep us guessing. Is the job market strong? And what is worker availability going to look like? Well, February's BLS job report indicated that we have a hot job market and that Jacksonville's unemployment rate is 2.5%, 1% lower than our national average. So if you're interested in workforce solutions and how our team can help you, please call or text me at 904-329-9802.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
The Hope Springs Eternal Gala to support Malavia Washington Youth Foundation is March 23rd. If you would like to help empower youth to take control of their stories, visit mailwashington.com.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
Caddyshack Ranch provides a safe, loving, and forever home to endangered big cats. Caddyshack, on the north side of Jacksonville, has helped lions, tigers, and endangered animals for 30 years. Learn how you can visit or help at caddyshackranch.org.
There's a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating at a local blood donation center.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
A horrific car accident left Paula with major injuries and surgery after surgery.
I got to the point where I really couldn't walk. I had to resign from work. I was really just laying in bed. It was terrible. I wouldn't go back under the knife.
She missed working and traveling, but all that was about to change. QC Kinetics used natural biologics to treat Paula. No foreign substances. They provided regenerative treatments that helped subside the pain and restore her quality of life.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I was feeling more movement and doing stuff. And then I started crying. I'm like, I can't believe it.
For Paula, this moment was extremely emotional.
I couldn't do nothing. And now I'm working, and I was on my feet for 7.5 hours, and I feel good. I got my life back because of QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics now for your consultation.
904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
The Guggen Open is coming. Listen to The Drill with Jeff and Dan for a chance for you and a partner to play in this year's Coastal Equipment Guggen Golf Open, April 17th at Hidden Hills Golf Club. This year's Guggen cocktail is the Duval Donkey, made with brackish vodka. Chip for your chance to win $500 towards new tires from Tire Outlet. Enjoy cigars from Tobacco Cove. Thanks to our sponsors, Edwin Watts Golf, CSS Outdoor, and the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union 234.
Cooking with Prisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a rolling.
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
Hun, the drain really smells.
Yeah, wow, it does.
I think it's getting backed up. What should we do? Did you just quack like a duck?
Yes, I did.
Duck Duck Rooter, your plumbing pros in Northeast Florida. Need help with a plumbing issue at your home or business? Just call the Duck.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769.
This NFL free agency profile is brought to you by Island Oaks RV Resort.
The Jaguars re-signed Andrew Dewey Wingard to a 3-year, $9.6 million contract. The emotional leader of the 2022 Jaguars has tallied over 200 tackles, 7 pass breakups, and 4 picks over the past 4 seasons in Duval. His biggest contributions, though, have come on all 4 phases of special teams. Now, Wingard is set to become the highest-paid core special teamer in the National Football League.
Years ago, when Harrell and Harrell was growing, we had a decision to make whether we were going to grow into the state or even beyond. And we decided that we were going to stay here in this community in Northeast Florida. It's staying here and not looking at where's the next place that we can go or how can we get bigger, because bigger is not necessarily better. This is our home, this is where our families are, this is where our friends are, and this is where we're going to stay. Offices, Jacksonville.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Heilman from the brand new Fourscore Golf Tavern. We do elevated food, drinks, and golf simulator fun. If you're looking for a delicious meal or maybe a spot for a client, we have lunch specials every day. Need to entertain a few people from out of town? Easy. Just reserve one of our 4 simulator bays. Lunch service starts at 11 a.m. daily. Located in San Marcos Square, we'll see you at lunch at Fourscore Golf Tavern.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, hello. Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Spring football in full session in Gainesville. Anthony Richardson getting ready for the NFL draft. And, boy, is anybody going to be left on the Gator basketball roster? Now 3 players have officially entered the transfer portal. For the very latest, let's head to Gainesville. Our friend Graham Hall, 247sports.com. He covers the Florida Gators, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Graham, how you doing?
Doing well, Ryan. Thanks for having me. Always my pleasure to be here and talk all things Gators with you, man. A lot going on in Gainesville as usual. But I got to say, kind of an interesting scheduling here. In my time on the beat, haven't seen anything like this where Florida has started spring football and then taken a week off for spring break. You rarely see that because coaches don't want players to take any steps back or get away from the nutritional program. And it's going to be interesting to see how things look if they just maintain pace when things resume here on a little bit on Tuesday this week here, getting back into action.
Yeah, it was weird, the scheduling and the way they did it. And we'll certainly talk more about the football program in one moment. Graham, the basketball season did not go the way people hoped. Todd Golden finished 16-17. They get just flat out embarrassed in round 1 of the NIT, a very disheartening way to end the year. And since that loss last week, 3 guys have entered the transfer portal, perhaps more to come. I mean, what's going on with the basketball team? Are there issues down there?
I wouldn't say there are issues. I don't think that this season can be billed as a failure, really. I think that a lot didn't go well necessarily, and obviously injuries, very unfortunate, hard to prevent, of course, and they happen, and you hope they don't. But when they do, if you don't have players capable of stepping right in, you're going to see your competitive chances hindered. And that certainly did happen to Florida. There were, I think, some missteps along the way that got them to this point, rather than saying there was necessarily one thing that you can point to, not even just Colin Castleton's injury. That's kind of just, in my mind, the final nail really in the coffin of Florida falling short of making the NCAA tournament. You could go back to the construction of the roster last year. I thought they did really, really well in the transfer portal, landing 4 promising guys, then getting Riley Kugel on campus, getting Alex Fudge in the building, Kyle Lofton, retaining, obviously, Colin Castleton. Myron Jones coming back, I think, proved to be a good move, especially in retrospect, even though he did kind of have to work his way back into the starting lineup. But there were certainly some, I think, roster moves that you can question in retrospect. Trey Bonham, he didn't really see his UF season work out as well as he would have liked. And you talk about Exodus, he's certainly a guy that I think has a decision to make here this week, if not one that already has been made. And by the time that this is coming out here for people, you certainly could see something regarding him as well. That's just kind of the state of college basketball. If you are not working out necessarily in year one, it's going to be hard to come back in year two unless there are a lot of promising aspects for you working in your favor. And that may not be the case for a guy like Trey Bonham, who saw himself relegated to the bench late in the season. Niles Lane is out the door, CJ Felder, Jason Jatobo, and then you lose the 3 fifth-year guys. Florida, fortunately, it's looking like they're going to get the two most promising young underclassmen pieces from last year's team back in Riley Kugel and Will Richard. I have heard that they have told the coaching staff that they intend to return, barring something unforeseen, although certainly unforeseen things happen in this game. I think at a higher rate than ever before. We could make a case for that. But right now it looks like they're going to get the two most promising pieces back. But otherwise, Florida is tasked with kind of a massive rebuild after some significant attrition, a lot of which I think was expected. When you see players with eligibility remaining not playing down the stretch, I think that can kind of tell you in this day and age that if it's not due to injury, that it's kind of an indication of where things stand for both parties and that a parting is on the horizon. And I think that now we are seeing that come to life right here in Gainesville, Ryan.
Graham Hall, 247sports.com. You mentioned Riley Kugel. That would be enormous if he comes back next year. Look, I'm not saying Todd Golden's going to be on the hot seat by any stretch of the imagination, but there's no doubt, Graham, that they need to show improvement, right? I mean, this was a disappointing season.
It was a disappointing season. Like I said, I think there were certainly some factors that led to it. Coaches who have had success have had disappointing seasons. Usually you see them in the middle of tenures if they're not going to necessarily be killing to their tenure at a university necessarily. A couple years ago, John Calipari had a 9-win season there in Lexington, and everyone could point to all the circumstances from the freshmen to the novelty of the transfer portal to COVID of why that team only won 9 games. This could be absolutely an outlier for Todd Golden at Florida in a couple of years. Maybe they win 25, 26 games, and we look back and say, hey, that was very explainable in year one. The coaching staff was kind of late to arrive in Gainesville. They all were living together in an Airbnb. Your starting point guard is out for the first stretch of the games. You play a brutal non-conference schedule against Oklahoma, Xavier, FAU, who look at that game in retrospect, right? Not a bad loss at all. UConn, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and with Will Richard missing the entirety of fall camp, maybe people forgot that losing 2 of your 5 very important pieces in fall camp. And then, Riley Kugel was just a freshman, not at the level of playing where he was. It was Colin Castleton carrying that team early on. They were not anywhere where you saw them with in terms of potential late in the season. So in retrospect, if more things go right, Florida absolutely, I think, is capable of competing. If they win a few of those non-conference games last year, we're not really talking so much about Colin Castleton's injury. I think they get in the NCAA tournament if they win a few extra non-conference games, because 9-9 in the SEC is good enough to make it. That is, in my mind, a good barometer. If you don't have a losing record in conference play, you are doing a lot of things right. Unfortunately for Florida, too many injuries, not enough reliable pieces outside of that core group led to where they're at, and now they're going to have to go out and shore up, get more guys in the front court especially, and if they do that and rebuild over the next 2 months, I think this coaching staff is going to absolutely improve upon their first-year results.
Graham Hall, 247sports.com. Graham, spring football starts back up this week after a week off for spring break, as you mentioned earlier. Early returns from spring ball. I guess everybody that I'm hearing from is saying Graham Mertz has been solid, nothing spectacular, but he's been solid. And after Anthony Richardson's inconsistency last year, maybe, Graham, that's what you need. You just need a guy that on 3rd and 6 can complete a 7-yard pass and get a first down. He's not going to run the ball for an 80-yard touchdown, but if you can get 7 yards on 3rd and 6, that's good enough for me. What's your thought been on Graham Mertz to this point?
Yeah, no disrespect whatsoever to Anthony Richardson. I've come on here and professed how impressed I am with him, of course. But Mertz is just, in terms of experience, farther ahead of where he needs to be as someone capable of being a starting quarterback. Richardson was still learning, I think, a lot of particulars last year, has some, in my mind, some catching up to do that at this point last year in terms of his knowledge of running an offense in college. Mertz has done that. He has made significant, quote unquote, catching up in his first 2 months in Gainesville, to the point where when he got into spring camp, I think maybe this was a little bit overshadowed, but he was right where Jack Miller really was at the start of spring camp. That's significant catching up. People have said that he lives in the building. His car is in the parking lot nonstop. He does what he needs to do. He's talking to his wide receivers at a very, very high rate. He's taking every step to be the starting quarterback, and he's making all the guys around him better. And that's why you take someone like that as opposed to maybe someone who has a lot of promise, a promising prospect, but thinks that they're going to be handed that starting quarterback job. Graham Mertz was explicitly told that he was not going to be handed the starting quarterback job. I know that the perception out there was that he was going to come in and be given it. He had I think, maybe that was misconstrued. He had, I think, an advantage of winning the job. He took a hold of that, and in the 60 days before spring camp, he has caught up to where he needs to be. And now with his experience, if he continues at this rate, he's going to be Florida's starting quarterback, and he's going to continue to improve in terms of getting on the same page with his wide receivers and in terms of how Florida's coaching staff can coach him. They can, I think, go to a little bit of a higher level of applying knowledge when they have someone who you're not necessarily coaching more, I don't want to say fundamentals, but you are not coaching a first-year starting quarterback anymore, if I'm being frank.
Couple of more for Graham Hall of 24/7 Sports. Graham, the last time you and I talked, there was no D coordinator, there was no wide receiver coach. Now there is. Austin Armstrong comes in with 29 years old. I saw him at the podium, I guess, last week. The guy's got a great football mind, but he looks like he's about 12. He is 29. It's just kind of odd to see that. And then Billy Gonzalez back in the fold as the wide receiver coach. Your thought on both hires?
Yeah, I feel like a kid, man. So when I see people my age getting, on-field coaching jobs at prestigious universities, I kind of feel like a little bit of a failure, I'll be totally honest. But Austin Armstrong, I'm sure he's not feeling that. He's been around Nick Saban. He's been around Kirby Smart. He, 2 years ago, was the youngest defensive coordinator in the nation at 27. A very aggressive mind, an inside linebackers guy. So you think a little bit more aggressive on front seven. Florida's going to attempt to be multidimensional in really both aspects of the game, where they can adapt in the secondary and adapt in the front seven based on the opponent. It really is kind of a unique approach. It gives you a chance to disguise a lot of what you want to do. And I think the importance of that was moving Corey Raymond to covering the entire secondary. So you have the entire unit coached by one guy, really kind of two defensive coordinators in a way, with Austin Armstrong leading the way and Raymond overseeing that secondary there. That should help the young guy there and making sure that he's continuing to be himself and just doing what he's done to get him to this point, which has led him to a ton of success. I mean, Nick Saban brought him in for a reason, back to his home state, thinking he could handle that inside linebackers job. There were a ton, I can tell people this, there were a ton of coaches out there that if Florida didn't swoop him up instantly, you saw that report right when Patrick Toney was leaving. Patrick Toney and Austin Armstrong are really close. Not that anything was handed to Armstrong, but right when he was leaving, Florida moved quickly to snap up Armstrong, because Florida believed that if they did not, programs from across the country, Dan Lanning at Oregon, Georgia, they were going to look to get Armstrong in a position like this. Whether that will pay off, I think, of course, remains to be seen. But there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic that this is a good move for Florida, just in spite of his age, that Armstrong can be a guy that brings Florida's defense back to the level that many people think that this unit can be capable of playing. Do they have the personnel to do it? I don't know, but they certainly think they have the coach right now.
Surprised Billy Gonzalez instead of a guy like Dallas Baker to coach wide receivers, Graham?
interesting. Baker is a very, very amazing guy. I've talked to him a good bit. Great opportunity that he has there at Baylor, and where he's been around the country. He got a ton of experience. A little bit surprising. I'm not too sure his familiarity with Napier and his coaching staff. Obviously a familiar name. Gonzalez, I think, fits a unique checklist right now. Some people say, why not retain the guy right away, right? And then he'd be in the second year. And some people say, well, is he an upgrade over Kerry Colbert now with the Denver Broncos? Those are, I think, not the right questions to ask. The right parameters to be phrasing this under is look at what Florida had to do. Middle of spring camp, the NFL calendar has pushed things back a little bit with that extra week there. Florida had to find someone familiar with the landscape, knows the university, is comfortable coming in right away in coaching, has recruited a lot of guys on this roster if they really, really want to come in and make sure that that unit improves. I think Billy Gonzalez checks all those boxes. Obviously, he would tell you that his second stint in Florida fell far short of where he wanted it to be. From a recruiting standpoint, the game has certainly changed a whole lot, but him continuing to stay in the game, something that a lot of those coaches, after Dan Mullen's firing back in 2021, not a lot of those coaches immediately got out and got new jobs. Gonzalez is familiar with the landscape. He's familiar with Gainesville. I think you're looking at this business a lot more year to year as a 1 to 2 year thing. A lot of times with coordinators, they either move on or you part ways with them. They get better jobs or it doesn't work out. This could be just a 9-month thing for Billy Gonzalez and the Gators, but certainly it's one that I think gives them a good chance to kind of pick up right in the middle of spring camp and make sure that development continues seamlessly a little bit.
Hey, Graham, final question. We got about 90 seconds. The reaction in Gainesville to what Anthony Richardson did at the Combine.
I think a lot of people weren't too surprised in Gainesville. I mean, if you've been watching this guy, I have said before that I've had the pleasure of covering him since he was 14 years old. We've watched him dunk since he was 14 years old. We watched him, throw between his legs and throw it up. They used to play pickup basketball in the gym. Don't do it too much anymore because of the risks these day and age. But the team used to play pickup basketball, and when Anthony Richardson was a freshman, he threw between his legs and dunked over 2 of his teammates, and the entire team swarmed him. And I think that day, more than anything else, changed the perception that, this kid can be special. The athleticism stuff didn't surprise me at all, didn't surprise a lot of his former teammates. Obviously impressed people, because when you go out there and do it in front of NFL people, and you do it against a lot of other people of similar athletic comparisons. I mean, look at him with that athletic rating, the best ever. That really, I think, just kind of reaffirms what you thought you saw, but then you see the analytics behind it. One of the most impressive things for me, and what I think is maybe being a little bit overlooked by some people, is how much he is impressed in the interview process. That was a little bit before he did the athletic stuff, but for a guy that maybe some of the questions were, how much does he know things? How willing is he to go out there and be in the building 16 hours a day and catch up to learning the playbook and the intricacies of the NFL, and how willing and devoted is he? That's the stuff that is going to reassure GMs. Not that you can go out and throw between your legs and jump 40 inches and have an amazing 10'9" broad jump and run a 4.44 40-yard dash. That's not necessarily, that confirms a lot of great things and makes you drool a bit, but what really makes you lose those butterflies in your gut is hearing a guy kill it in the interview process, and that is what Richardson did. Those who've interviewed him in Gainesville know he comes off as extremely intelligent, thoughtful, honest, and I think when you combine all of those things with the desire to win and be better, that's really, I think, led to why many teams are going to be here in Gainesville for Florida's Pro Day next Thursday on March 30th. Compared to Cam Newton's Pro Day, I looked this up, 150 scouts, several GMs, 5 NFL head coaches attended Cam Newton's Pro Day. It could be the most insane one we've seen since, 2008? It's going to be a wild one here in Gainesville, and it's because Anthony Richardson has a chance to go number 1 overall.
Yeah, you see a lot of mock drafts now that have Richardson in the top 5, including one earlier today that Mel Kiper put out from ESPN that had Anthony Richardson going 5th to the Seattle Seahawks. Graham Hall, 247sports.com, does a terrific job covering the Florida Gators, and he's one of our guys in Gainesville here on 1010XL. Graham, as always, thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, my friend.
My pleasure, Ryan. Take care out there.
There you go. Thank you to Graham Hall, 247sports.com for joining us. All right, so the World Baseball Classic. Boy, got some drama here. Ohtani on the mound for Japan. Japan up 3-2 on the U.S. There was a leadoff walk for the United States. Mookie Betts at the plate. He just hit into a double play. So now the United States down to their final out. And look at this. Ohtani against Mike Trout, who's coming up to the plate. This is good stuff. Again, by no means am I a baseball diehard, but this is really kind of what sports is all about. Two teammates, Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, World Baseball Classic on the line, ball one, so we will certainly keep you updated. Denmark, look, again, am I wrong in thinking that a week and a half ago, people were like, the World Baseball Classic's a joke, it cost the Mets their season because the best closer in baseball got hurt, but now all of a sudden, a week later, it's like the greatest sporting event going. It's been an odd transformation, has it not?
No, I mean, most people think this is really cool. I mean, there's a few individuals, specifically the station, that didn't like what happened. But I mean, most people like just because it's so different. I mean, like, I enjoy watching this more than any regular season MLB game just because it's so action-packed. And I mean, there's been more games that have been entertaining within the past week in this tournament than I can remember in any baseball game in a long time. So
no, I agree. This has been a lot of fun to watch. And again, the United States is down to their final out. Mike Trout at the plate going up against Shohei Ohtani for Japan. This is pretty good stuff going on FS1, the final of the World Baseball Classic. Obviously, whoever wins this wins the WBC. And then all these guys got to get to work. Opening day of Major League Baseball is next week. So a lot of the guys that played in this tournament, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Mexico, obviously the U.S., all these guys that have played and given their all for their country, they got to fly to their given city and get ready for a 162-game Major League Baseball season, which kicks off in about a week's time. Coming up next, Zach Harbison, the brand new head football coach out at Tacoy Creek High School. He leaves Englewood to go to Tacoy Creek. What was it about Tacoy Creek that led him to make that decision? We'll talk a little high school ball on a Tuesday night with the brand new head coach of Tacoy Creek, Zach Harbison. He's next on Hacker After Dark.
What's this one do?
Ultra Booster.
Uh-huh. And what's that mean?
What's the difference? We'll take it. No, you can't take that. That's one of a kind. That's a
1010XL.
Garber Auto Mall has started Truck Wars 2023. Ram wants to win Truck Wars, offering thousands in savings right now at Garber. No one sells a new Ram truck at a lower price than Garber during Truck Wars. We have a large inventory of Ram trucks that just won't last. Get to Garber for the best deals, largest selection of Ram trucks before they're gone. Truck Wars is on and Ram is ready to ride out with you. Save thousands at Garber Auto Mall now. Shop online at GarberAutomall.com.
Can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Colorectal cancer is the third most common cancer in men and women. March is Colorectal Awareness Month, and if you're over age 45, get screened for any signs and symptoms. Visit Ackerman Cancer Center where their experts can see you same or next day at ackermancancercenter.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On March 21st, 2019, Japanese baseball right fielder Ichiro Suzuki finishes his career with a record 4,367 base hits as Mariners beat the A's.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Yass, the most unknown world-renowned expert on pain elimination. That's right, elimination. If you've tried medications, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic, even surgery, and still experience pain, then say yes to Yas. I have successfully used the Yas method for over 30 years to help thousands reclaim their lives. To learn more, call me at 904-906-YASS. Let's end your pain and say yes to Yas.
Come to Bowden Eye for all your eye care needs. Hicken here. Did you know that diabetes is a leading cause of blindness and affects up to 34 million Americans? Please don't take diabetes lightly. If you have diabetes, see your favorite Bowden Eye doc and save your vision. Bowden Eye is dedicated to the protection and preservation of the treasured gift of sight. Bowden Eye and Associates. Visit today for your personal consultation. Keeping the First Coast focused. New location now open off County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
Big Brothers Big Sisters is teaming up with the NFL to inspire change. From now to draft day, Big Brothers Big Sisters is following the NFL draft, aiming to recruit potential bigs. Hi, I'm Brent from the 1010 sales team. I'm committed as a mentor, and we need you to step up and become a mentor too. There's a waiting list of more than 50 children hoping for a mentor. It's just a few hours a month. Be a mentor. Become a big. Visit bbsnefl.org. Be a mentor or visit Big Brothers Big Sisters and click on Big Draft.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound and Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
Does your home or building need painting? For over 20 years, Performance Painting has had the privilege of preserving many of Jacksonville's most prominent buildings. That said, we feel like we're just getting started. I'm Jason Parker, and our team thrives on preparing, protecting, and preserving the homes, businesses, and public buildings that make up our local landscape. Contact us today to put our years of experience to work for you. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting! Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying. They can also signal a major problem or electrical emergency. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker. After Dark on 1010XL. Now,
hello.
Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We're already into late March. Spring football actually begins in a little over a month on the high school football gridiron, but the coaching carousel continues to turn. And no better evidence of that than my next guest, Zach Harbison, formerly of Englewood High School, now the brand new head coach at Decoy Creek there in St. Johns County. And Coach Harbison joins us here on 1010XL. Coach, congratulations.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited for the opportunity.
Coach, this is a very fresh story. This happened literally, I guess, between yesterday, this morning. You informed your team at Englewood that you've taken the job there at Decoy Creek. What was it about Decoy Creek High School that led you in that direction?
I think the biggest thing is the community support there. They do a great job of supporting their athletes, supporting their students, and I thought it was a really cool opportunity for myself to kind of jump in and be a part of a program that's freshly still being built, but has a solid foundation, and I think has a really high ceiling.
You know, I want to talk about the future with you in Tocoi Creek in a moment, but let's talk about what you did at Inglewood. You know this, when I had you on over the last couple of years under the Friday Night Lights, you were trying to rebuild something there at Inglewood, and I think you did a pretty solid job in doing that. It's hard to rebuild a Duval County public school. How hard was it for you to walk away? I know you had to tell your kids you were leaving. That's tough for anybody. Take us through that process.
Yeah, no joke. That was up there with the top 2 or 3 toughest things I've had to do in my professional life for sure. I genuinely love these kids. They put so much in, like you said, to rebuild Inglewood into what we knew it could be with really, really hard work. And they did a great job. And then stepping away from that and literally leaving them is really tough. But like I said, it's a cool opportunity for us moving forward. But I still have high expectations for Inglewood. They are great, great kids, and they've proven to themselves with hard work and direction they can get it done. So I'm hopeful for them in the future, but also I'm still excited for us as we move into our new chapter and a new challenge at Tocoi Creek.
Zach Harbison, the brand new head coach at Tocoi Creek. Coach, I did Hackers High School football tour out at Tocoi Creek last year, and I was really taken aback by the facilities, the big old practice field they got, the stadium. I mean, you're inheriting quite the gig. It's only year 3 for that program, but they have a lot going for them out there.
Yeah, they do. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't almost in awe when I went and visited the facilities. I hope you have a bit of a change for me. They do have some nice, really, really nice things there that'll make some stuff easier. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're practicing on or where you're working out at. It's about putting that work in, and I'm excited to get rolling with those guys down there.
You know, Mike Kolakowski did a very good job getting that program off the ground. He announced his retirement, I guess, about a month or so ago. We had Coach K on. Did you have any conversations with Coach Kolakowski, or do you plan to have any conversations about Tocoi Creek and the mindset moving forward out there?
We do. We're going to speak hopefully at the end of this week. He's got a lot going on still there because he's still on campus. But when we can get in touch, I do plan on speaking with him and seeing what went right and what he would what he recommends to a new coach coming in. Because like you said, they do have a very strong foundation and they built it well. And I'm not coming in there to rock the boat. We want to get this thing continue rolling and elevate that ceiling.
Coach, when I was out there, again, Zach Harbison here with us, when I was out there, they were telling me they had 135 kids between their junior varsity and varsity. That was a gigantic football program, and there were more kids joining, seemingly by the week. That's going to be a little bit of a change for you, obviously, coming from Inglewood. I mean, what are the advantages, and are there any disadvantages to going from a program like Inglewood to a program like Tocoi Creek?
I think I don't want to call it a disadvantage, but one thing that it will be different is just building those relationships with the kids. It's going to take, you have to be more intentional with it, which I think we did a great job at Inglewood. But like you said, it's going to be 60 more guys out there. So just getting a great staff in place. It was important here. That's why we were as successful as we were. We had some guys on our staff that were amazing. And then just continuing to build that staff at Tocoi with our big numbers. It'll be a challenge, but I'm excited for that one.
Coach, it's March 21st. I mean, spring football is a month away. You got a lot to do in a very short amount of time. What's the strategy over the next couple of weeks as far as assembling a staff, meeting the players? I mean, I'm sure it's going to be quite the crash course for you before spring ball.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a whirlwind. Probably limit some sleep in the next couple of weeks, but it'll all be worth it in the long run. First thing is I got to meet with the kids, meet with the parents, the current staff, and then, like you said, build out our staff. It's going to be tough. We're going to have to check our language as far as what the kids know on the current team, and then we might have to alter some of the things that we used to call just so it's in their language, so we can hit the ground running come May 1st.
Final moments here with Zach Harbison, the brand new head coach at Tocoi Creek. Coach, any differences between public school programs in Duval County and public school programs in St. Johns County as far as on the field, the type of players, any differences there?
Oh, no, we played them here. They're both counties have really tough kids. Both counties have really good athletes. I don't think there's a big difference there. Just two separate counties. It's the only thing that separates us is a few miles, in my opinion. So I'm excited for the challenge down there, but I don't think it's going to be a different brand of football. Football is football. Coach your kids up, play hard, and good things will happen.
Final question for you, Coach. That program, like I said, is only 2 years old. I mean, you're going to be part of a lot of firsts. That program has never made the playoffs. That program has only played, I think, a handful of games in their own stadium. So how exciting is it for you to kind of get your fingerprints on that program only 2 years into their existence?
Yeah, that's part of why I was drawn to the opening. It's like you said, it's cool to be in at the ground floor and to have your fingerprints on something that's going to be really, really big and really successful in the future. And then I'm going to be a small part of that. We're going to have a great staff, a great group of student athletes, and a great community supporting us and pushing us to be great.
Zach Harbison, formerly of Inglewood High School. He is now the brand new head football coach out there at Decoy Creek in St. Johns County. Coach, congratulations. It'll take me a little time to get used to saying Zach Harbison of Decoy Creek. I will work on it before the Friday Night Lights postgame because I have no doubt we'll be talking to you a lot this upcoming football season. Thank you, my friend.
I appreciate your time.
No static ever. Download the free 1010XL app for Apple and Android devices and take us with you wherever you go. 1010XL.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
Hello, Jacksonville. I'm going to get right to the heart of the matter. We have had 485 shootings in 2022. This includes murders and individuals being shot. Jacksonville is well on its way to being the murder capital of Florida per capita population again. The answer to the problem is simple. We as a community have got to come together and encourage one another to break the code of silence. Jacksonville cannot solve the problem, and they were not there when it happened. They desperately need our help. We have got to say enough is enough. I'm not going to take any more. Our family could be the next victim. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
For information about Mad Dad, go to Mad Dad's Jacksonville Chapter Facebook or MadDadsJacksonville.com.
Chronic joint pain has a snowball effect. It's not just the pain.
What that did is just make me depressed that I couldn't get back into the gym, and I was inactive, gaining weight. I had to find another alternative.
And for Chad, that alternative was QC Kinetics and the non-surgical natural biologic treatments that can give lasting relief to aching hips, shoulders, knees, and backs.
Once they explained it, it made sense. Putting what we have inside our body back into us in a certain strategic way to heal up in a natural process was fantastic.
QC Kinetics treatments take place right in the office. No downtime, no surgery. And as for the outcome,
I'm just back to bouncing around, having fun, doing my work, living pain-free.
Don't let chronic joint pain rob you of your quality of life. Discover advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. Call now to learn more. It's a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Honey, are you using the hot water?
No.
The water's cold again. How can we fix it? Did you just quack like a duck?
Yep. Duck Rooter, your plumbing pros in Northeast Florida. For water heater installation and service, including tankless water heaters, gas, or electric, call for a quote today.
When you're stuck, call the duck. 904-862-6769.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey. Obviously, the summer temperatures are already here, and if you're like me, you want that oppressive Florida heat to stay outside the house. That's why I'm such a fan of Pella Windows and Doors. By now, we know that windows are the #1 way that heat gets in and the cold gets out. So when you're ready for the stylish design and energy efficiency that comes from Pella Windows and Doors, we invite you to visit their showroom on Phillips Highway next to Tesla or find them online at PellaJacks.com.
Home of the Jaguars, WJXL-FM Jacksonville Beach. This NFL free agency profile is brought to you by Island Oaks RV Resort.
The Jaguars re-signed Andrew Dewey Wingard to a 3-year, $9.6 million contract. The emotional leader of the 2022 Jaguars has tallied over 200 tackles, 7 pass breakups, and 4 picks over the past 4 seasons in Duval. His biggest contributions, though, have come on all 4 phases of special teams. Now, Wingard is set to become the highest-paid core special teamer in the National Football League.
Love seafood and want only the freshest seafood in Jacksonville?
Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach should be your first choice when craving anything from Mayport shrimp to fresh oysters. So when you're out at the beach, stop at the beach's best oyster bar for the last 40-plus years. Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner to fill that seafood craving. Fully renovated with more seating to serve the freshest seafood around. Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, locally owned by Safe Harbor Seafood.
Nothing is more relaxing and enjoyable than a great cigar. And perhaps the finest Honduran cigars on the market are Aladino cigars. Come out and meet Justo Arroyo, who along with his father Julio have created this masterpiece. Join us at Tobacco Cove this Saturday from 1 to 4 to experience a Honduran Puro Aladino from the people that originally created the Camacho cigars. Kick back in our clean, comfortable lounge with food, prizes, and great deals on Aladino cigars. Tobacco Cove this Saturday from 1 to 4 for a taste of perfection.
On the outside, everything looks fine, but on the inside, an unseen enemy is plotting the destruction of your home. Termites can be deadly to your home unless you fight back with Southern Fumigation. 259-9811. They will service your home from inspection to completion. No contracting out your job to other companies. 259-9811. Southern Fumigation offers a free pest inspection with no obligation. That's Southern Fumigation, 259-9811.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
11 o'clock hour is upon us. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go with you till midnight as we are every Tuesday. Our late show here on Hacker After Dark. Japan got it done in the World Baseball Classic. Shohei Ohtani striking out his teammate, right? Mike Trout. Teammates in Major League Baseball. They were on opposing sides here as Japan gets it done 3-2. I got to tell you, that was great drama, man. That was what sports is all about. You got Ohtani, you got Trout, you got a 3-2 count in the ninth inning of a one-run game. Good grief. Like I said, I'm not the biggest baseball fan on planet Earth, but even I was pretty fired up, enjoyed watching that. So the World Baseball Classic, again, I couldn't tell you a majority of what happened in this thing. I saw a bunch of highlights of it, but that was fun. That was fun tonight. There is absolutely no question about that. As always, Jacksonville, we are streaming for your viewing pleasure on both YouTube and Twitter. Just go to 1010XL on YouTube. You'll see Hacker After Dark there till midnight tonight. Likewise, on Twitter, at 1010XL on Twitter, you'll see the show streaming there until midnight this evening. Coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, my friend Brent Beard. You see him on First Coast News. You also hear him right here on Hacker After Dark as spring football is underway all over the country. In fact, Alabama and Tennessee both got on the field today. Florida, Florida State, Miami. They've been in spring drills now for a couple of weeks. So we'll talk to Brent Beard about all that. Coming up in less than 10 minutes, Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report and Forbes. He was one of our NBA guys here on Hacker After Dark as the NBA playoffs are less than 3 weeks away. That play-in tournament will get here before you know it, and the NBA postseason is right around the corner. A lot going on in the NBA. The Lakers making a little bit of a run, trying to get in even without LeBron. Golden State, the defending world champions, they're awesome at home. They can't win a road game to save their life. Then you got what's going on in Memphis with John Morant. In the Eastern Conference, Boston, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Philadelphia, the Knicks. We'll get into all that with Brian Toporek of Bleacher Report and Forbes coming up, talking a little NBA postseason. On Tuesday night, here on Hacker After Dark, Dylan Denmark is here. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. We certainly appreciate you staying up late with us. Brent Beard later on in the 11 o'clock hour talking college football. But first, let's talk a little NBA with my friend Brian Toporek of Bleacher Report and Forbes. He's next on a Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Drinking cocktails with Warren Sapp and smoking stogies with Ed Reed.
What are you talking about?
Former Miami Hurricane Leon Searcy is sharing his best stories with you.
Stories about colorful characters.
On XL Primetime in the noon hour on 1010XL.
Why does everyone seem to hesitate to buy a used car these days? Probably because the warranties stink. Well, we only offer the best cars that can pass our 160-point inspection and qualify for the Beaver Certified program with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. You mean just Chevys and Toyotas, right? Nope, all of them. Nissans? Yep. Fords? That's right. Hondas? You bet. What about all of them? And if you want to see all of them, come see us at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville.
I like to be active, and as you get older, I know it because I am older. You're more prone to injury, and I could not get rid of the pain.
QC Kinetics patient Diane Richardson talking about how a hiking injury left her in awful pain.
No one wants to live in pain. I certainly don't want to live in pain. I don't have time for pain.
Diane had heard about regenerative medicine, so she called QC Kinetics and started treatment right away. And the results were incredible.
I couldn't believe it. I honestly was skeptical, but the pain went from a 10 to a 0.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in using natural biologics, healing properties from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. There's no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime.
The result was phenomenal. I mean, I was not feeling any pain. I'm able to do everything that I want to do.
If you have pain from arthritis or injury, this may be the solution you're looking for. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
It was a game changer.
904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Big Brothers Big Sisters is teaming up with the NFL to inspire change. From now to draft day, Big Brothers Big Sisters is following the NFL draft, aiming to recruit potential bigs. Hi, I'm Brent from the 1010 sales team. I'm committed as a mentor, and we need you to step up and become a mentor too. There's a waiting list of more than 50 children hoping for a mentor. It's just a few hours a month. Be a mentor. Become a big. Visit bbsnefl.org. Be a mentor or visit Big Brothers Big Sisters and click on Big Draft.
Men suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE? Regardless of age or past medical history, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center. And for unlimited time, your consultation and first treatment are totally free. Call now 904-664-8217.
Every day you hear interesting and insightful conversations from national names on the Farah and Farah phone line.
I insist on complete honesty. If you have something to say to me, I wish you would just say it.
Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah on 1010XL.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
Hey folks, Hickett here for Zero Res. If you're like me, you're getting the itch to de-junk and do some major spring cleaning. The problem is most of us hate throwing things away. I just close my eyes and let the wife do it. Next though, we'll have the Zero Res truck clean the carpets, the sofa, and deep clean the tile and grout. What a great time to get all the floors cleaned. And right now you get 20% off tile and grout deep cleaning. 20% off tile and grout. Zero Res, man. Spell it forward, spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
When it comes to commercial fence services, Superior Fence and Rail has you covered. If your business needs automatic gates or security fence and railings, trust Superior with your next commercial project. Superior's team delivers great communication, high-quality products, and exceptional customer service. Just read any of their 2,300-plus reviews.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Heilman from the brand new Fourscore Golf Tavern. We do elevated food, drinks, and golf simulator fun. If you're looking for a delicious meal or maybe a spot for a client, we have lunch specials every day. Need to entertain a few people from out of town? Easy. Just reserve one of our 4 simulator bays. Lunch service starts at 11 a.m. daily. Located in San Marcos Square, we'll see you at lunch at Fourscore Golf Tavern.
Hello, Jacksonville. This is Greg McGarity, President and CEO of Gator Bowl Sports. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl game and events have been a Jacksonville staple for more than 75 years. We support more than 4,200 local youth annually through Gator Bowl charities. Gator Bowl Sports is a perfect way for local companies and individuals to get involved. We'd love to meet with you and talk about how you can join our team. If you'd like to learn more, contact us at 798-1700, 798-1700.
Don't suffer another day with cheap box store cornhole boards. Order your custom luxury boards from Mystic Cornhole Company right here in Jax. Ask about pro-level bags, lights, score stands, and other accessories. And score with Mystic Cornhole Company.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, hello. Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The NBA regular season coming down to the nitty-gritty. In fact, less than a month from now, we will be into the NBA postseason. Let's talk about the association and how the playoffs are shaping up with our guy Brian Toporek. You can see him on Bleacher Report and at Forbes, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Ryan?
Brian, we're good, man. Thank you for the time. And all right, a lot's transpired in the month or so that's gone by since you and I talked, and I guess we'll begin with Ja Morant and Memphis. The league came out last week, suspended him for 8 games. We know the off-the-court issues Ja Morant has had. I guess he was officially back in the building earlier this week and saw Memphis win a pretty important basketball game. But, Brian, what's your take on that whole situation and how Memphis might fare in the postseason once he returns?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not great for Ja. I hope he got the help that he needed. He went to a counseling program in Florida. As you said, he's back with the team. Sounds like he could be back on the court as soon as Wednesday. Hopefully this whole situation was a wake-up call because, him live streaming himself with a gun was kind of the culmination, but there have been a couple of reported incidents over the last year. So that's, I think that's the big concern, both from a human perspective, but also a long-term perspective from the Grizzlies. If he continues to get in the off-court trouble that he's had, that's really going to short circuit what looks like an incredibly promising rebuild in Memphis because they're the number 2 seed. They have arguably the best young core in the NBA between Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, some of these other up-and-coming young guys, David Roddy, who they just drafted, Jake LaRavia, Zaire Williams. It's rare for a team this young to be this good. I think there are reasons to be concerned about Memphis in the playoffs, their half-court offense in particular. Dylan Brooks, I know he's getting suspended what feels like every other game at this point because he has 16 technicals. Those will reset once the playoffs begin. But, he is another factor that you have to at least be worried. Does he cross a line on the court? Does he get 2 technicals or flagrant and get ejected for a game? I think the half-court offense is probably the biggest concern for Memphis heading into the playoffs.
Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report, and Forbes here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Is Dylan Brooks the new Rasheed Wallace or Ron Artest or, I guess, Draymond Green of the league?
Yeah, it feels like that, right? Even the Pat Bev, Tony Allen type. But, all of those guys know they shouldn't shoot. Tony Allen, Tony Allen was a complete non-factor on offense. Dylan Brooks is still taking 15 shots a game. He's just not hitting very many. So that's a concern for Memphis. He needs to dial it back a bit and let, the Jaren Jackson Jr.'s and Ja Morant's and Desmond Bane's take on more of the offensive responsibility. Also, Steven Adams is out most likely for the rest of the regular season. So if he isn't back by the playoffs, I think that is going to certainly hurt Memphis's chances of coming out of the West.
Brian, what about the Western Conference as a whole? I mean, there's certainly some surprises. Sacramento, Utah, Denver still, very, very good. How do you see the West playing out here as the regular season winds down?
It's wild. I mean, it's so hard to get a read on who's actually good in the West because, the 4 through 10 seeds, as we record this on Tuesday, are separated by 3 games. So, injuries are obviously playing a huge part of this. When Kevin Durant returns, I still believe the Phoenix Suns are going to be in that top tier of threats to come out of the West. If LeBron James comes back before the end of the regular season, and if the Lakers can sneak into the play-in tournament, I think they're going to be a team that, the 1 and the 2 seeds are going to be certainly hoping that they lose in the play-in tournament and that they don't get the Lakers in the first rounds. Karl Anthony Towns is nearing his return for the Timberwolves, who have, somehow hung around in playoff contention without him for most of the season. Kyrie Irving was in a walking boot after last night's game. Luka Doncic missed last night's game for the Mavericks. So at this point, it feels like a lot of these teams are kind of just limping along to the finish line, and whichever one stays healthy enough over these final few weeks might be able to sneak in. But, if you're asking me who I think is going to come out of the West, I still think it's probably either Denver or Phoenix. I know Sacramento has been such a fun story this year. First winning season in almost like a decade and a half. They're at this point almost certainly going to make the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. Their defense, I just do not trust holding up over 3 series to get to the finals, unfortunately. I think their offense is, the league's best. Like, they are so good on that end. De'Aaron Fox is going to win this new Most Clutch Player of the Year award that they're unveiling this year. He has been phenomenal in those situations. I'm just not entirely sold that that's going to hold up in the playoffs. So, I still think Phoenix probably has the highest ceiling of any team in the West. We just haven't seen them. Kevin Durant's played 3 games, so they're going to have to kind of figure this thing out on the fly. The Clippers, they should be better than they are, and I just can't figure out why they're not. But right now, if the season ends today, they're playing Phoenix in the first round and then Denver most likely in the second round. So they are just going to have a brutal road to even get to the finals. And the defending champion Warriors, 29-7 at home sounds great, but 8-29 on the road. They're not going to have home court most likely in a single series. They need to be able to win road games, and they just have not prove that they are capable of doing so consistently this year.
Brian DePorg, Bleacher Report, and Forbes here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Quickly, final thought on the West. You mentioned De'Aaron Fox. Is he the best player in the league that casual NBA fans may not know anything about?
He's up there. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I would imagine, is probably also in that conversation of casual fans not really knowing who he is, but he is phenomenal. But yeah, Fox, especially considering where he was even last year, where, there were talks that he was involved in these Ben Simmons trade talks, and the Sixers apparently had no interest in getting him. And now all of a sudden he's Mr. Clutch and was a clear all-star caliber player this year. So it's been really, really fun to see him having this breakout season, because he's had this type of talent for a while. I think, the arrival of Mike Brown, who should be the very heavy favorite for Coach of the Year at this point, I think has done wonders for De'Aaron Fox.
Brian, when we flip to the Eastern Conference, is it Milwaukee, Boston, in whatever order you want to put them in, and then everybody else? Is there a clear separation after Milwaukee/Boston?
I might put Philly in that mix as well. And I cover the Sixers, so maybe I'm being biased here, but this Sixers team feels different than it has in years past. They are a lot more resilient than they have been in years past. Their half-court offense is sensational. Prior to last night, at least, they lost to the Bulls in a game that felt like a throwback to the 80s. But prior to last night's game, I think they were 3rd in offensive rating, 4th in half-court offense. The James Harden, Joel Embiid pick and roll, they have just established such good chemistry on that play, and Embiid being able to pop in these mid-range elbow jumpers, without even thinking about it, has really raised the ceiling for the Sixers. So I think they're in that conversation. I think the Bucks, given the Celtics struggle over the last month or so. I think the Bucks are the best team right now, and they're going to have home court advantage most likely through the finals at this point. So I think they should be the favorite to win the title, but I think one of Milwaukee, Boston, or Philly comes out of the East. I think Milwaukee is the most likely team to do so, but I wouldn't be shocked if Boston or Philly did it either.
If there were, again, Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report, and Forbes here with us talking NBA, if you had to get a fourth or a fifth Eastern team at least into the conversation, whether it's Cleveland, New York, Miami, Toronto, heck, even Chicago all of a sudden has decided to start playing a little bit, would there be another team that could make a surprise run in the Eastern playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be Cleveland, if anyone. Donovan Mitchell, we've seen him in the playoffs elevate his game to an incredible level. I think Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, they have 4/5 of a really, really good starting five. Isaac Okoro has come on in recent months as well. You have Karis LeVert, Ricky Rubio off the bench, and, bench depth doesn't matter as much in the playoffs. So you can start whittling down your rotation to 7 or 8 guys. I think Cleveland, I think it'd be an uphill battle against any of the top 3, but I think most likely we are looking at a second round of Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Cleveland in whatever order they end up finishing standings wise.
As we wrap up with Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report, and Forbes, look, my beloved Orlando Magic are not going to go to the postseason. I normally ask you about Paolo Banchero, but I want to ask you about Markelle Fultz. This was a guy that was just left for dead, quite frankly. He's a bust, one of the biggest busts in NBA history, going number 1 overall, and you're obviously very familiar with him there in Philadelphia. And I'll tell you, Brian, Markelle Fultz at the age of 24 starting to play pretty well, man. And I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, Markelle Fultz versus Ben Simmons right now. I would take Markelle Fultz in that situation. I mean, how has he been able to turn his game around? How is he viewed on the national, landscape when it comes to the NBA?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have taken notice of what he's done this year and are optimistic really about not only his future, but the Magic's in general. I mean, I've got a draft of a piece that I'm saving probably until we see what happens during the draft lottery. But I mean, you could be adding 2 lottery picks to a Magic team with, Banchero, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., Markelle Fultz, Jalen Suggs, go down the list. They have a wealth of young talent. And the exciting thing for the Magic is that they've got a lot of financial flexibility moving forward as well. Markelle is signed to a pretty reasonable contract for the next season, this year and next year. Wendell Carter's on a very, very reasonable deal for the next 3 years. So they're going to have some room to tinker here. I don't know if they view Markelle as their long-term point guard of the future. I think that is still up for debate whether that player is even on the roster or not. But I think, if nothing else, Markelle has proved he is an NBA player. As you said, compared him to Ben Simmons, I think everyone would take Markelle Fultz because you're at least confident that Markelle Fultz is going to be in the league in 3 years. When Ben Simmons' contract expires, I'm not sure that he gets another contract or even wants another contract. I think Markelle has played his way into, either a starting role or maybe he's a super sub at some point for a contender. But yeah, I'm very impressed. I'm thrilled for the kid personally because he went through, a really tough time those first couple of years. So it's awesome to see him finding his footing here. Yeah,
it's been quite the turnaround for Markelle Fultz. There's no question about that. Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report, and Forbes. All right, Brian, leave us with this. The play-in tournament will happen first. We're, about 3.5 weeks away from the play-in tournament. It'll be now a couple of years of that thing. As a guy that covers the league, do you like it? Is it accomplishing what the NBA wants it to accomplish?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great, usually this time of the year before the play-in tournament was just so many teams are resting players and, it was just all right, we can more or less check out until the playoffs begin. And, not only is it just bad product, you don't want to watch that type of game on TV every night, but it's unfair for, teams that are jockeying for playoff positioning it just matters like how many of the bad teams do you draw toward the end of the season. Like a scheduling imbalance could have a real impact on playoff seeding, playoff races. I think especially between the flattened lottery odds and the play-in tournament, there's only 4 teams right now. We're less than 3 weeks away from the start of the playoffs. There are only 4 teams that have been eliminated. I think like the Trailblazers and the Magic are probably not far away, but that speaks to you've got 26 teams still with something to play for, and we're seeing that on a nightly basis. So it's, I think the league should be thrilled with how this is going, especially the West. Like you've got the Warriors in the 6th, and the Pelicans are the 12th seed right now, separated by 2 games. So it's just like every single Western Conference game has such big stakes. It's starting to feel like the NFL, like toward the end of the NFL regular season, where every game has such big playoff implications. That's what we have for the next 3 weeks, especially in the West.
Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report and Forbes. He's one of our guys when it comes to the NBA. Brian, as always, thank you for the time. We'll do it again soon, my friend.
That sounds good. Thank you as always.
First of all, congratulations on the show.
Join the 1010XL Podcast Network.
How do you like being in a real studio?
Now you can find all your favorite 1010XL podcasts in your platform of choice.
Attention car buyers, you in the market for a new vehicle? Are you noticing the markup on vehicles on dealers' lots? Well, not the case at Key Buick GMC. We never have markups on our vehicles. Come in today and ask for Derek or Steve. As always, the lifetime powertrain warranty in effect whenever you purchase a brand new vehicle from Key Buick GMC. We are professional grade on the corner of Southside and Gate, or visit our website, keybuickgmc.com.
At the United States Postal Service, we're reinventing our network to help keep your business moving. With new shipping options to deliver better value, greater flexibility to conveniently reach your customers, more confident shipping with new informed delivery features, and new electric vehicles for a cleaner, brighter future. Fast, reliable, perfectly orchestrated. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/moving forward.
Now is the best time to visit CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. With any new outdoor kitchen purchase, you can receive a Gosney Rockbox pizza oven for free. Only until April 20th. You dream it, they build it at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days? And save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity line of credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity credit line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
It's time to play Fix That Plumbing Problem. What do you do if you have a clogged drain? Contestant 1?
Use a different drain?
No, that doesn't really fix the problem. Contestant 2? That's right. Just call the duck.
Don't let plumbing problems linger. Call the pros at Duck Duck Rooter. Commercial, residential, any plumbing issue or project.
When you're stuck, call the duck. 904-862-6769.
This is Frank Frangie. Join Dan Hickett and me for All Things Gators, our podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, with new episodes every Monday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL Florida Gators Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or TuneIn.
Love seafood and want only the freshest seafood in Jacksonville? Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach should be your first choice when craving anything from Mayport shrimp to fresh oysters. So when you're out at the beach, stop at the beach's best oyster bar for the last 40-plus years. Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner to fill that seafood craving. Fully renovated with more seating to serve the freshest seafood around. Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, locally owned by Safe Harbor Seafood.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound and Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
The Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is now offering online scheduling for new patient appointments for all of their physicians. Simply schedule your appointment on your cell phone, tablet, or desktop. JOI is the first orthopedic practice in North Florida to offer this feature to patients. To schedule your appointment online, visit joi.net and click on the button at the top of the page. If you'll be using insurance, be sure and have your information handy. JOI, where the pros go.
Servicing every customer like they're famous. But what does that mean for you? It comes down to the famous philosophy. You'll find a consistency at all 20 locations in friendly service, honest pricing, and realistic time expectations. They know when you find someone you trust to maintain your vehicle, keep it running right, and lasting longer, you'll stick with them. And that's the famous philosophy at Famous Automotive in Quick Lube. Ask about a fleet account for your business.
David here with Royal Pest Services. That grass is waking up from its winter nap. Royal is close to applying products that help bring it out of that dormancy. Our granular aeration allows treatment to get to the root system. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule a free estimate. It's grow time!
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker. After Dark on 1010XL. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. It is a Tuesday evening, and we are glad you are with us. Spring football all over the place in the Southeastern Conference. Amazingly, Missouri already had their spring game. They're done for spring practice. That's hard to believe. And 3 SEC teams are still alive in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. We got a lot to get into with that. Let me welcome in my friend Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News, and he's always kind enough to join us weekly here on Hacker After Dark. Mr. Beard, how are you, my friend?
It's just a wonderful time of year, particularly here right now when I know the 80s are coming later this week, but I've enjoyed the 60s. So, but you've got spring football, obviously the round of 16 coming this weekend. So that's going to be a lot of fun to be at, and it's not easy to keep up with it all, but we certainly try.
You know, Brent, look, when it comes to basketball, like you mentioned, the Southeastern Conference has had a lot of success over the last decades. I mean, this is not new, right? Arkansas in the 40 Minutes of Hell with, you know, the big nasty Corliss Williamson and Nolan Richardson there. And obviously Kentucky's a blue blood. Florida has won back-to-back titles. LSU's been to some Final Fours. So I'm not trying to say it's a new trend, but it does appear, at least in the last couple of years, Brent, with coaches that have been hired, resources being dedicated, that the SEC seems to be more in the game now when it comes to men's basketball than maybe they were in the last 10 or 15 years. I mean, you saw dominating wins by the SEC over a couple of Big Ten teams in the round 1 of the NCAA tournament. As we said, Arkansas still alive, Tennessee still alive in the NCAA tournament. So your thoughts on the SEC and I guess the dedicating of resources to improving their basketball programs?
They made a commitment a few years ago when Mike Slive was alive and was still the commissioner in order to beef up basketball, and they saw that it was necessary. And they also brought in Mike Tranghese. Do you remember that name?
I do, sure.
Who really spent several months basically as a consultant to help them being able to do that. And what's happened is, and it's a similar model that you get in any sport, you hire better coaches, you recruit better players, and you build better facilities. So they've done all three now in the SEC. Now, what's going to be even better is Chris Beard joins Ole Miss. Chris Beard's one of the better basketball coaches in the nation. Now, he had a disaster at Texas, but has rebounded and ended up now with Ole Miss, and he is only going to make them better. Listen, Hack, he comes in, and I think automatically he's one of the top 5 coaches in the league, may even be in the top 3, frankly. But it really has been refreshing that the league has done what they have. And at this point, excuse me being greatly amused here, but all we heard last week was how great the Big Ten is. Well, they had 8 teams get in, and they've had one continue to the Sweet 16, and that's Michigan State.
Yeah, it was a bad week for the Big Ten. There is no question.
Yes.
And a couple of those teams were knocked out by SEC teams. Now, Brent Beard here with us. I don't know if you ripped your shirt off like Eric Musselman did after Arkansas beat Kansas, but your Alabama Crimson Tide have looked very strong in the first couple of rounds. You like their chances moving forward?
They're playing a San Diego State team that, as a friend in the national media said, San Diego State plays as good a defense as Tennessee and Houston. So that's going to be a real challenge for them. But for now, with Brandon Miller playing better in the first NCAA game, he didn't even score. He's got a groin injury and says that's better. But they're having guys step up. Noah Clowney, for instance, Mark Sears, and Javon Quinterly has been the guy who's really helped them. And let's be honest, they've had some good fortune that some of the teams above them, as far as the teams that you thought would be the higher seed, some of those folks have been upset. So if they beat San Diego State, then they play the winner of Creighton and Princeton. Creighton's a good team, too. So they're looking at possibility, if they play well, of being in the Final Four, which would obviously be rarefied air for them, too. But I give Tennessee a lot of credit. They finally got past that first weekend for Rick Barnes, and their defense is going to be good, but they've got to score some points, and without Zakai Ziegler, you wonder if they would, but they did. And you mentioned Arkansas. Arkansas is a tremendously talented basketball team under Musselman, and when they're able to play defense, they're going to be able to score. They've got UConn. I'm not sure they get past that, but that would be a great win for them. But to your point, the league is just much, much better, and certainly kudos for Miami to continue on. Difficult year for Florida State, just a beginning year for Florida. So hopefully basketball in the South is getting much better.
Yeah, and some love to Florida Atlantic, too. They got a little lucky with Fairleigh Dickinson in the second round, but the FAU Owls find themselves in the Sweet 16. Brent Beard here with us. You see him on First Coast News. You hear him right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, I'm not trying to start a controversy at your alma mater, but Nick Saban in Alabama begins spring football today, and it was reported over the weekend that I guess an Alabama player got suspended for a situation he was in off the field, and when Saban was asked about it, he said there's no such thing as the wrong place at the wrong time, which some people took as maybe a shot, if you will, towards Nate Oates and the basketball team with the whole Brandon Miller situation. Has that gotten any talk out there in the state of Alabama?
Well, it has, but Alabama quickly came back and said, even some of their beat writers did, that that was not a slap at Nate Oates. That instead it was it was a slap at Tony Mitchell. I can tell you who it was a slap at. Frankly, Mitchell was is a tremendous freshman defensive back. Made an awful decision. He has been suspended. Was caught with a marijuana, set of scales, a loaded handgun, large amount of cash. You read between the lines what's going on there, probably. But again, that's alleged as far as what's happened. Saban is too smart for that, Ryan. Frankly, he's not going to start something with the basketball coach that could hurt him on down the line. So it got out. Some people misinterpreted that. Alabama came back with a quick response. So that frankly is as far as that's going.
Mentioned Alabama. Spring football begins this week. Actually, today, I believe, is Alabama's first on-field practice. Tennessee is on the field today as well. Let's begin, though, with the Crimson Tide. They got to catch Georgia, Brent. It was Alabama's world. Everybody was living in it. Georgia has passed them in the last 2 years. How big a year is this for Nick Saban?
Well, it's a big year. They have made new hires. Kevin Steele is in. Tommy Rees is in as defensive and offensive coordinators. What they're trying to do is to go back and be much more physical in the line of scrimmage. Part of their problem over the last few years is on 3rd and short and 4th and short, they're having to throw the ball. They've had enough of that, and they're going back to trying to run the ball behind a very physical line of scrimmage. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to throw, obviously, but that's one thing they really need to do. They also have got to get more pressure on the quarterback. That's part of the reason they lost LSU and Tennessee last year, was they were not able to do that at crucial times. So that is going to be an important spring for them, just to kind of get things going, kind of find out who the quarterback is. Saban's is too sly on this quarterback stuff. He's not going to name a starter coming out, frankly, between Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson. But I can tell you, Ty Simpson's a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe. Milroe got to play a little bit last year, but as I've been told, you can use the whole playbook for Ty Simpson. 2 good transfers, tight end C.J. Dipre from Maryland and from Georgia, inside linebacker Tresman Marshall. So that will be added to the to this array of talent too. So things are getting going in Tuscaloosa with spring practice in basketball too.
A couple of more for Brent Beard. You see him on First Coast News. You get him right here on Hacker After Dark. The Tennessee Volunteers begin spring football today. Brent coming off an incredible season a year ago, although it did not end probably in the fashion they wanted, thanks in large part to Hendon Hooker's injury. You can't control that. But how much optimism is there on Rocky Top coming into 2023?
Oh, there's a lot still that they can continue to be effective. Their spring game is on April the 15th. The thing they've really got to fix, Josh Heupel, they'll be fine offensively. Joe Milton's probably going to be the quarterback, the Michigan transfer. But they've also got this freshman that everyone wants to see in Lama Leva, who supposedly they paid $9 million in an NIL deal for. So how much of that's true, we don't know. But to me, Hank, what they've got to fix is the defense. And the one stat for the defense that you need to know, on 1st and 2nd down for as far as defensively, they were in the top 10, believe it or not. But on 3rd down, they allowed more than 52% conversion ratio. That's awful for anybody. I mean, anytime your opponent is able to get a first down on 3rd down, 52% of the time, that's got to be fixed. So I think that has a lot to do with what you're going to see during this spring, that the defense is going to be a real something they've got to continually work on.
Is Tennessee the only real challenger for Georgia this year in the East? Could Kentucky be there without Will Levis? I mean, I know people like South Carolina, but at the end of the day, Brent, is it Tennessee is the real competition?
Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, Missouri would be a little bit better, but they're not going to win the East by any stretch of the imagination. I think Tennessee has got enough. They've got enough offensively to being every game as they were last year. They're still not. They still don't have the players that Georgia does, because they just haven't recruited that well. South Carolina is the same way. Too many holes. Even though Rattler's coming back at quarterback at this point too. So that's basically going to be what you've got. Kentucky's got Devin Leary coming over from NC State, and then Liam Cohen's coming back as offensive coordinator from the Rams in the NFL. But they've got to fix their offensive line, which was horrible last year. They got Will Levis hurt most of the year. But they'll be competitive again. But, yes, Tennessee's the main competition.
Final moments here with Brent Beard. Brent, 2 final thoughts. We got about 2 minutes to go. Florida State, it was announced last week, heading to Ireland to begin 2024 to take on Georgia Tech. But what a trip it'll be for those kids, and probably a really nice recruiting tool for Mike Norvell.
Oh, it's a trip of a lifetime. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Now, the venue is probably more attractive than the opponents. Let's be honest about that. But I will say I think Tech's going in the right direction. But Florida State is the darling for everyone right now, that they'll be in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5 with who they've got coming back, frankly. So, and by the way, Florida State has a kid named Winston Wright who is in a car accident as a passenger last year, injured his leg. He's a transfer from West Virginia, a receiver and a returner. He is standing out during the spring, too, which is good because Micah Pittman, one of their better receivers, is out for the spring. So incredible amount of optimism at Florida State. And, yes, that announcement for Dublin really helped. So, Hank, I think you and I need to find credentials for that game and be able to cover it, don't you?
That would be a lot of fun. There is no question about that. And you mentioned Wright. Our colleague Mike Huguenin from On3.com reminded me of this. There was a thought, Brent, before that car accident last year that Wright was the best receiver Florida State got out of the portal. Yep. Better than Johnny Wilson, better than Micah Pittman. So if you bring a healthy Wright back to join those guys in the fall, good grief what that Florida State offense may look like. And Brent, leave us with this. The Gators hire a new wide receiver coach, but it's a friend of the program, a guy that's been there for many years in the past, and Billy Gonzalez. Kind of odd to me, I guess, when you got, a guy like Dallas Baker sitting out there, potentially Ike Hilliard sitting out there, but they go back to, I guess, some familiarity with the program there with Billy Gonzalez.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I'm with you. I thought they may get one of the guys that you mentioned, Dallas Baker, particularly. We heard his name, but he's very familiar. He's also a good recruiter, so I think that had something to do with it, too. Jaden Hill, by the way, who had a torn ACL, I understand, is back, doing well in the spring. And look, he's not going to the Heisman Trophy. We get this. But Graham Mertz, I understand, the words I've heard were solid, and he's made routine plays. Well, that's something they really needed last year and they didn't have. And I'm not saying the kid's going to be great, but I'm just saying what you hear so far. And you and I both know spring practice in football is like spring training in baseball. Everybody's doing very well, and everybody looks great, but that is something positive coming out of camp.
Brent, as we say goodbye, I don't want to overlook the spring game that was already played. Missouri, and their spring game is already in the books. They played it this past weekend. Did we learn anything in Columbia, Missouri this weekend about the quarterback or anything Eli Drinkowitz has going on? Any news come out of that spring game?
It was almost amusing now that you think about it, but they actually canceled the game as far as fans coming because it was too cold. It was freezing, but they went inside and they did some work at that point too. Now, what I understand is their main emphasis is going to be defense. They were 106 last year in the nation in total defense. So they're doing a lot of work. They've got a good coordinator who I understand is doing good. His name is Baker. Had a really good year last year, so they're excited about where they might be going with that. Brady Cook is going to be their quarterback, but he's out with a labrum surgery at this point. And remember, Jake Garcia from Miami is also one of the guys. Sam Horn, who plays baseball too, didn't get to see much action because of he strained his upper arm in baseball. So I think they will be a little bit better. Kellen Moore, his brother Kirby Moore, is their offensive coordinator. So I'm not saying they're going to challenge, but you could still see a Missouri team that, and again, Hank, we can't forget, right? They had Georgia on the ropes and let him go in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it's a big year for Eli Drinkowitz. You think about guys that are on the hot seat entering this year. I think Drinkowitz is probably, his seat's pretty warm up there in Columbia, so we'll see what happens. And I bet you they don't have their spring game in the middle of March moving forward. That's probably a good lesson for Missouri as time goes on. Brent Beard, he always teaches us a good lesson when it comes to Southeastern Conference football. Brent, we appreciate the time. You see him on First Coast News. You hear him right here on Hacker After Dark. We'll talk again next week, my friend.
Good. Look forward to it, pal. Take care.
And thank you to my friend Brent Beard for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Yeah, mid to late March means spring games, spring practice in full swing. A lot of interesting storylines, as Brent told you. Alabama was on the field today. Tennessee was on the field today. Florida is back on the field today. So a lot going on around the Southeastern Conference. And we do thank Brent Beard, who you see on First Coast News and also here locally right here on 1010XL, for joining us tonight as he does each and every Tuesday. Well, that'll just about wrap it up for what has been a very busy Tuesday night edition, our late night edition of Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Again, Brent Beard talking college football with you. Thank you to Zach Harbison, the brand new head football coach at Tacoy Creek High School. Zach leaving his post at Inglewood and accepting the job at Tacoy Creek. Certainly appreciate him joining us tonight. Also, Brian Toporek of Bleacher Report and Forbes talking a little NBA as we are 3 weeks away from the NBA playoffs. Thank you to Brian Toporek for joining us tonight here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And finally, Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, stopped by to look at the Gator spring football practice schedule and the mass exodus going on from the basketball team. Now 4 players have entered the transfer portal since their season ended just 1 week ago. We'll be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, last show before a little mini vacay. I'm off Thursday and Friday, but we'll be with you tomorrow night beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And Jacksonville, thank you for staying up late with us here on a Tuesday night on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Tuesday, and we will do it all over again on a Wednesday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
This is your captain speaking. Please return to your seats. We will be experiencing turbulence.
1010XL. Taking turbulence out of the air.
Duval. Leon Searcy here, and I want to personally invite you all to come out, have a smoke with me, and my business partner, Howard G. of Howard G. Cigars, as we launch my second cigar on the line, the Little Circe. We will be at Island Girl Cigar Lounge in Gay Parkway this Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. We'll have cigar specials for purchasing and a great deal on boxes. See you there.
What keeps you from getting things done? Often it's a problem. Well, what if the problem isn't a problem at all? Hey, gang, you've been thinking about selling your home, but you think it's just too much out there to stop you? Let me tell you that there's not with Chad and Sandy. At Chad and Sandy, they guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. So no matter the reason that it's time for you to move, maybe you need a bigger home for your office or your growing family. Well, Chad and Sandy are the real estate experts we trust and recommend for the sale of your home. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Take Caleb and Kendall Point. I finished my military service. I got a great job offer back home and was excited for my new life to begin pronto. Chad is a former Navy, and he bent over backwards to make things happen for me. Incredibly, my home sold in 5 days above list price. The problem solvers at Chad and Sandy.